It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Hey, thanks for checking out the podcast. It is a Monday edition of the podcast, the release day of April 13th, 2026. Thanks for tuning in. Very much appreciate it. We're going to talk music today. We're going to talk sports today, mainly college basketball. Some takeaways from vacation are happening. I just wanted to say thank you, though, for being here today. I was going to release some stuff last week while we were in Florida for family vacation. And I got to Florida. We got there last weekend, and I was like, I'm going to just release something, put something out. And instead, and I'm thankful I did it, it's a bummer in terms of releasing things and trying to build any momentum. It's a momentum killer, taking a week away from the podcast. But I just exited everything. I didn't look at work stuff. I didn't look at the podcast stuff, other things that I kind of do during my week that aren't really family driven. I just took time off of that and just poured into the fam. And it was so enjoyable. It was the first time really we'd taken a vacation with all three kids and got out for a week where there was no one working. And it was just really fun. So I've got two takeaways. I'm going to sprinkle takeaways throughout the week. We'll do two of them tonight that are, I don't know if they're good takeaways or not, but they're going to be the takeaways from vacation. I just wanted to start off by saying, in terms of music, it's been a crazy music time for me the last couple of weeks. Two of my all-time favorite bands, two of my three favorite bands ever, Weezer and Switchfoot, both released new music, so I've worn those songs out. Both of those bands are releasing albums this year, so that's great news for me. Musically, it's awesome, an awesome year. And then the other thing is, I worked in country music from 2009 to 2023, I believe is when that was, and then a sprinkling of time in country music before that. But I didn't grow up liking country music, and so when you look back at the formidable years of your life, and that's kind of when you settle into the music you're going to listen to for the rest of your life, those were not country music years. So it took me a while to fall in love and enjoy country music when I worked in the industry. And then as soon as I left radio, I stopped listening to country music altogether. I also really stopped going to concerts. I went to so many concerts over the years of working the morning show that I just kind of lost the luster to me. I stopped really enjoying them, which is such a third world problem. I went to so many concerts for free. I hated them. But that's just kind of how it worked. The fair, same thing with the fair, the interstate fair. Loved the interstate fair until you start working it. And then you work it for a number of years, and it's like, this sucks. Getting there every morning to set up the radio booth so that you could do the radio show and radio cut-ins from the fair. And you're like, yeah, this is not as fun. This is not as fun. And you're like, I don't want to go back to the fair. Anyhow, the same thing with concerts. But I will tell you, Morgan Wallen is on tour, and that is one country music artist that I really like and still listen to. And his tour looks freaking awesome. He had his first two nights in Wisconsin or Minnesota. It's got to be Minneapolis, I'm assuming. He had Jared Allen come out with him. He had Joe Mauer come out with him. So that's a Minnesota Viking and a Minnesota Twin. Yeah, I got to go to one of the Morgan Wallen stops. I don't like to go to a lot of concerts. I want to go to one of those. It looks fantastic. And then Weezer announced a tour. Their tour is going to roll through. Their tour's rolling through Nashville. I want to go to the show in Nashville. Switchfoot's on tour. So it's just music time for me. Major music guy, this guy. Major music guy. Okay, before we get into sports, and I hope that it's an enjoyable conversation about college basketball for those of you who like college basketball and those of you who don't care at all. Maybe it's just a little look into the world of what's happening. Get you caught up. Let you, hang at the water cooler a little bit. I got two takeaways from Florida. And the first one is just something that drives me crazy about me. And maybe you can help. For those of you who watch on YouTube, you can comment there. You can send your comment in on Spotify. You can comment on seanslife.com. Go there, leave a comment. I haven't checked the comment section there in a while. I haven't checked any comments because I was on vacation. And I just didn't look at anything. Do we have anything that I need to touch on that's been recent? We have something from April 4th. And let's see. This is good. See, this is the good comments you get from seanslife.com. All right. Although I will say Ron sent one. We'll talk about it at the end. Samuel said this: in most industries, only a limited number of businesses can secure premium keyword placements. If there are specific, see, this is just spam on seanslife.com. Thanks. Ron mentioned first off, Project Hail Mary was awesome, but we're going to talk about that at the end of the podcast today. Okay, very end. 2 takeaways from Florida. Something I'm mad about with myself. I'd mentioned that. I have a book I want to read. It is called Chronicles of Amber. There's 2 books in this little Chronicles of Amber's book 1, volume 1. It's sci-fi, fantasy books about this. It's even hard to explain. It's like this family that rules a city, and this city is the city of cities, and everything that we know is a shadow of that city. So Earth is just a shadow of parts of this amazing city. And all these people are trying to take over and reign this city because the dad, the king, the ruler, whatever, whatever he is of this city is dead or he's gone. I don't know. And everyone's trying to, and now that he's gone, all the sons of Amber are trying to take over and rule, take over and be the head honcho of Amber. So anyways, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. It was recommended to me by Lexington Mike. He let me borrow the book. So when he let me borrow the book last fall, I read 80 pages of it, and it took me forever to read those 80 pages. I put the book down for a long time. I go, I'm on vacation for this week. I'm going to have some time to read. I'm going to hammer this book out. Maybe 300 pages for 2 books. I'm going to hammer this out. It's not a big book. So I go, I don't know where I left off. I only need to catch up on 80 pages. I'll read those 80 pages, and then we'll get through the rest. Here I sit on Monday, having restarted this book over a week ago, and I've gained 20 pages. I'm on, I think, page 102 or 104, which means I think I left off in the 80s, which means I read 80 pages plus 20 whole pages in a whole week. I talk to people at my work. I talk to people around who go, I read 2 books today. I want to read so bad. I think it's so fun. I find it so enjoyable to sit down and devour a book. It takes me a week to read 80 pages. That's frustrating. And it's also kind of not enjoyable. So I don't know. I've been trying to find tricks my entire life on how to get faster at reading. And it's funny, you'll get into the YouTube rabbit hole, and eventually you'll just run into the wall where it says, if you can't read faster than you read now at 44, you just suck at reading. I'm thinking, well, how? I weirdly in my life, the Malcolm Gladwell, is he the 10,000 hours? Weirdly, I have settled on the things that I like. I have done for 10,000 hours and have not gotten better at them and maybe have gotten worse. I might be a worse reader, and I know I've read 10,000 hours in the course of my life because I love reading, whether it's magazines, books, blogs. I've read for 10,000 hours easily. I'm slower than I used to be. So I've gotten worse. There's my 10,000 hours there. I've easily played 10,000 hours of basketball. Easily. And I feel like I plateaued 10 years ago in my mid-30s and just never got better. And I've shot millions of shots and just never. The 10,000 hours of basketball didn't get me better. And I've podcasted for 1 billion hours. And I know I've gotten worse at podcasting. So I'm walking proof that Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours is really not real. It's kind of like if you're good at something and then you do it more, you're going to be great at it. But the part they don't tell you in the 10,000 hours things is if you're not good at it and you're never going to be good at it, it doesn't matter if you put in 1 billion hours. you're never going to be good. So I've settled on the things that I put my 10,000 hours into. All 3 of them I have not gotten better at. So there's something that I'm good at that I should have spent 10,000 hours doing, and I didn't. And it just sits there and simmers and probably screams at my body nonstop. Like, why didn't you spend even 5,000 hours doing this? And you would be a king of Amber, wherever. You would be out of the shadow realm and into the real realm. I'm into that book. I just can't read. 1 week, I read just as much as I read last fall and gained 20 whole pages. And I was reading as hard as I could, guys. I was reading as hard as I could. The other thing I wanted to mention, and it's a vacation thing. It's very funny how people are. And it's something that my wife and I differ on. And I would love to know, vacationers, where you fall on this. So I grew up in a family that we didn't do a whole lot of vacations. We didn't eat out hardly ever. We very rarely went out to eat. Going out to eat was such a luxury. And it's interesting, my wife's family, they love going out to eat. They'll eat out a lot or get food to go and bring it in. They do that a lot. And so there's a very big difference there. Even when we were on vacations as kids, we would go out to eat maybe one night on a vacation. The other ones, mom would make food or we would get sandwiches, but we didn't eat out all the time. So we go on this family vacation and I'm thinking we're going to eat out a couple times. I have one night on a vacation that I love to eat out more than any of the nights. Okay, one night. I would say in second place would be your first night on vacation after your first full day. So if you get somewhere on vacation, you get there midday or evening, settle in that night, go to sleep. The next day you wake up, you spend the whole day vacationing, and that night go out to eat. That's my second favorite night on a vacation to go out to eat. My first favorite, by a long shot, it's not even close, is the night before vacation is done. So I deal with Sunday scaries in a bad way when it's vacation. I've been looking forward to vacation. When there's a vacation coming up, I know I've been looking forward to it, pumping it up in my mind. And so when that thing's coming to a close, I feel it. This has been since I was young. I feel it, and I'm like, this sucks. Don't get me back to reality. I want to live in this vacation mode forever. And so I've always loved the last night. You go out to eat, and it's kind of like your grand farewell to vacation. My wife couldn't be more opposite. It was the one night during the week she did not want to go out to eat. And I chuckled because we went out to eat almost every single night except for the last night, which was just hilarious to me. And it was great. We had some good food. We had awesome food. I want to talk about the food later this week as we sprinkle more vacation stuff in there. Had some awesome dinners. I'm not a big fan of going out to eat with my 2-year-old, my almost 2-year-old. I'd say 19 months. I don't know, 18, 20 months, whatever he is. He turns 2 at the end of June. So you do the math on that. He's almost 2. I don't like it. He gets mad. He throws food. But my other kids love it. My wife loves it. So they make it so much more enjoyable than my 2-year-old makes it miserable. They just crush him. He starts making it miserable, and I look over at the other 3, and they are just having the biggest time of their life. And I'm like, yeah, take that, Woods. You tried, dude. You tried your best to ruin the night for everyone, but you got trumped by 3 people who are having a big time. So anyhow, it was just funny to me. For me, the last night before you go back is the ultimate night to go out to eat. But what about everybody? Where is everyone on this? Let's say you're out for a week, you're multiple days, you're on vacation. I think it needs to be obviously more than just a weekend. It needs to be a getaway that's multiple days. When is your favorite time to go out to eat? And I'm realizing for my wife, and this is fair, my brain just operates different. The night before, she goes into a processing mode of how are we going to get home? And she starts to look at the plane, the schedule on delays, making sure everything is put together, making sure bags are put together. Now, if you leave early the next morning, then I get it. We left midday, early afternoon. But I did get, once she started doing stuff, I thought, I'm glad we didn't go out to eat tonight. It would not have been enjoyable. There was a lot of stuff to do. Laundry, pack bags. So there may be a moment in my life where we've gone on a couple more vacations and I'm walking it back and going, yeah, that's the worst night to go out to eat. But it was just funny. That was a takeaway from vacation. See, 10,000 hours of podcast. It hasn't got any better for you, has it? Let's talk sports. I used to be decent at talking sports once upon a time.
Kelly's, what are you into?
One of the nights we were on vacation was the national championship of college basketball. Michigan takes down UConn. The game wasn't really close. UConn tried to rally a comeback late and make this thing interesting, but Michigan kind of dominated the entire tournament. And I think there is an eye-opening moment in college sports that has happened in the year 2026 that needs to be paid attention to. And I'm very interested, as a big-time fan of college sports and sports in general, I'm really interested to watch these next 2 weeks for a lot of, especially college basketball teams and the moves they make with the transfer portal. Transfer portal is a big word in college sports right now, especially college basketball. The season ends, kids enter the transfer portal. They get offered a ton of NIL money from different schools. It's pretty much just contracts, and they chase money. There's no loyalty anymore to brand. There's no more loyalty to a university. It's go get money. Can't blame the kids. I would do the same. You would do the same. So don't kid yourself. They're doing what all of us would do. They're going to a school. They're playing for a year. They probably really enjoy the school, have a great time. At the end of the year, someone gets in their ear and says, hey, you're getting $1 million here. We got $2 million for you down the street. You're taking the money. You're transferring. Duh. So this is the time where you get to watch that right now in college basketball. You get to watch kids transfer. I'm real curious after what just happened in the last 2 collegiate national championships for the major sports, that being football and basketball. I'm interested to see what happens. Now, Gonzaga made a move. As I'm a Gonzaga Bulldog fan. Gonzaga made a move that goes against what I'm about to say, and they made it today. In fact, my buddy Josh messaged me earlier. He messaged me the Instagram post by Isaiah Harwell, a former Houston Cougar. Isaiah Harwell becomes Gonzaga's first transfer addition of the offseason. Former top 20 prospect, was a Zag target coming out of high school. He went to school in Boise. He joins a young, talented backcourt that should include Mario Sansupere, I still don't know how you say his name, and Jack Cahill. Okay, so Gonzaga is in a spot right now where they lost a lot of kids to the transfer portal. So if you're looking at it right now, we're going to tie all this together in terms of this is not just about Gonzaga, but I'm using them as my baseline for this because I know the most about them. So Gonzaga has lost to the transfer portal a handful of guys. They've lost Steele Venters, who is 24 years old and is still going to play next year. Insane. Former Eastern Eagle, go Eags. 24. We got to be done with the COVID years, by the way. This had to be the last year for the COVID years. 24, Steele. Emmanuel Innocenti, he's transferring. Braden Smith is transferring. Ismailia Dianje is transferring. And a redshirt freshman, Cade Ornes, is transferring. So you got those guys transferring. Gonzaga's losing people who have no more eligibility. Adam Miller, Tyon Grant Foster, Jalen Worley, Noah Hayland, and Graham Ike. So they're losing a lot of people. And they're gaining some. They're gaining this guy that I just mentioned. They have coming back Mario Saint-Superi, Davis Fogel, Braden Huff should be back from injury. This redshirt freshman, redshirt junior, and a sophomore guard. Okay, so anyways, I don't want this to be. This is not about Gonzaga. I want to tie all this together with what I'm interested in. Michigan wins the national championship in college basketball. Indiana wins the national championship in college football. What do those two teams have in common? Old men. Old college men. Very young men in terms of actual life, but in terms of college, old men. The average age in the starting lineup for Michigan was 22 years old. For Kirk Cignetti's Indiana football team, the average age was 23 years old. These were men playing against 18 and 19-year-olds, and you cannot beat that difference in just development. It's crazy developmental years. Coming out of high school and into college, getting into your early 20s, it's crazy developmental years, mentally and physically. And so Michigan goes in and they win this with a bunch of guys who transferred in, 5 guys who transferred in, and I think the original response to something like that is, well, look, we've seen this done before. Look at Coach Coach Calipari at Kentucky. He had all these one and dones. He'd bring a bunch of guys in. They'd leave to the NBA after their first year or second year, so one and done or two and dones. And then he'd have a whole new lineup, and everyone's like, they can't get chemistry until late in the season. They're trying to figure out how to play together, and then they're trying to do that late. These are 18 and 19-year-olds. That's too tough. You can do that at 22. You've learned a lot. You have seen a lot. You've played a lot. You've been in locker rooms a lot. When you come in as a 22-year-old who's gone through all of the college basketball stuff, and you're in a locker room with other 22-year-olds, even though you haven't played together, you can combine and you can mesh that better because of your maturity. Doesn't work with 18-year-olds. Doesn't work with 19-year-olds as much. And so you saw this with Indiana football. They had a bunch of people who were old, and some people who had transferred in looking for that paycheck from Indiana and Mark Cuban. And you mesh better because you've gone through a lot of life through college. You've gone through a lot of stuff between the ages of 18 and 22. Some serious growing up. You've got out of the house. You've been out of the house for a while. You've had real grown-up things happening in your life. And you're just more mature. You're also, in terms of physical, your body's developed a ton over those years. So I'm really curious to see how this transfer portal goes this year in college basketball. And I'm really interested. I mentioned Gonzaga early because they just got a 19-year-old. And I thought for sure their first portal move would be a guy 21, 22. But it was a 19-year-old. But I've got to assume if you're a coach right now in college sports, you're going to the transfer portal, you're looking at the list of names of people who are transferring. And you're filtering them by age, but not the old way where you're trying to get a young guy. You're filtering it from old down to young, and you're looking at that top tier and going, how many of these 23-year-olds can we get? How many of these grown men who have played 3 years of college basketball and are willing to come in for a year can we get? And you say, well, Sean, but look, they're in there for a year and then they graduate and they're done. Okay. But guess what they leave behind? Look up in your rafters. Look up when you're building, when you're sitting there on the baseline, you're sitting there on the sidelines. Look up. Michigan's got a banner, man. I look at Kansas. They had that Darren Peterson kid. That Darren Peterson kid who's going to be an NBA guy. He's going to be a very good player. He played 20 minutes, it felt like. He played no games. He was hurt. He was, quote, hurt. And then he didn't play. And then he played in the tournament a little bit, and he was good. And he's really good. So what? Kansas went out and they got a young guy to commit to him. They got one of these all-time great basketball players who's going to go down and potentially go down in NBA history as a great player, right? He has the potential to do that. That kid from BYU, whose name I don't know how to say yet. You know, he goes to BYU, doesn't win. And so you're telling me that, okay, well, you have these one-and-done guys who are going to be NBA superstars, but you get them when they're 18. And yeah, they're going to go be NBA superstars. And they're going to be better than a lot of these guys who played for Michigan. They are. They're going to have better basketball careers moving forward. And you had them at your university. But it doesn't matter because when I see Darren Peterson in 10 years in the NBA, he's going to be, I'm going to correlate him to whatever NBA team he got drafted by if he plays there for a while. That's what he's going to be. He's not going to be a Kansas Jayhawk. Okay? And so if you're a Kansas Jayhawk fan, you can try to plead with people like, well, he was a Kansas Jayhawk. He was a Jayhawk. And it's like, no one cares, dude. But these Michigan guys, some of them may be journeymen in the NBA. They may, be in the league for 10 years, play menial minutes, make some good money, but never be a superstar. And when they walk back onto campus at Ann Arbor, legends. Beyond like superstar status in that city. What do you want? You can have it. The city is yours. That banner that's up there says champion, and that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So I don't know. I think this has shaped what we're going to see in college sports in a wild way. But the second I think that Gonzaga goes out and they get a 19-year-old to transfer. So what do I know? All I do know is that Gonzaga better go out to Les Schwab and Northern Quest and tell them, hey, dump out some of that change. We got to bring in some old geezers out here. Some guys who go straight from a national championship to the Spokane Club. That's what we're going to need. I'm interested to see how this affects college sports. I love this part of college sports. I love the NIL thing is the Wild West. It's crazy. It makes people so mad. But for me, as someone who enjoys sports, enjoys the drama of it, enjoys watching these brilliant minds that run teams try to work through all the change, I love watching it for the drama and the intrigue. And yeah, you're going to come at me with, yeah, but they're going to college. This is supposed to be college kids. Yeah, you're right. But that's not what's happening. You and I aren't changing it. And so I'm here to enjoy what I can out of it. And I'm here to see how people adapt and what they make of it. All right, that's it for the podcast tonight. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. We'll be back Wednesday with a couple more sprinkles from vacation coming up. I did want to read this from Sean'sLife.com. We'll get a comment in there. This is from Ron with 2 N's. He says, first off, Project Hail Mary was awesome. See it in Dolby Cinema if you can. It baffles me when people say they don't like movies. The best breakfast sandwich I had was in Portland at Pine State Biscuits, and it's called the Reggie Deluxe. It's a biscuit with breaded fried chicken, bacon, egg, and cheese with sausage gravy. Ron, that you put a sausage gravy on something that's a breakfast item, change the game. Change the game. I want to see Project Hail Mary bad. We're going to talk about outer space and everything with outer space later this week when we talk about vacation stuff. But there is astronaut talk. I know you've been dying. Everyone's been dying. They tune in to Sean's Life because they're dying for astronaut talk. You're going to get it this week, probably on Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.